time up less. And I don't want to waste any more time. I just like to open up for questions at this point.
Scott, can I start with the first question? Because I just, a real quick personal story, guys. My plane was delayed. I ended up getting in here about 2 a.m. Now, we have a guy at Bellator who's one of the unsung heroes behind the scenes named Danny Brenner, whose job it is to get me accurate information. So I get up to my hotel room when everybody's asleep, and Danny has sent me a promo telling me there's a guy named Anatoly Kolov who's won his last 7 fights. As a matter of fact, he's won 24 of his last 5. That can't be true. So I'm trying to get a hold of Danny to tell him I'm going to be on in the morning. I've got to have accurate information. It turns out he has won his last 7, and it turns out he has won 24 of his last 25. I used to pretend to have a good record, and I didn't pretend it was that good. And I just want to ask Anatoly, I don't know what you do with a guy that's won 7 in a row. I don't know what you do with a guy that's won 24 of his last 25, because frankly, I've never met that guy. But I guess you bring him to CBS, I guess you put him in a co-main event spot, and I guess you give him a championship shot. Anatoly, is it about time? Too fast? Was it too fast? Can you get just part of it? Just part of it. Anatoly, is it about time you fight for the title? There's my question.
Yes, I think so.
I'll take it, my friend. I'll take that. And I've got to go to the champion because, Johnny, as I sing the praises of your opponent, it's hard for me to put myself in your shoes and to imagine being more intimidated or seeing a bigger uphill battle than Gegard Mousasi, a mountain that you already climbed. So when you do look at somebody like Anatoly, how do you feel? Is that a bigger challenge, or is this just a defense?
It's just another challenge, another step in the right direction, and it's the reason I called him out in the first place. I knew about his record. I knew he was 7-0 in Bellator. I know he's really good. So I want to take him out and put on a show in front of all you fans and on CBS.
Well, thank you, champ. And speaking of calling out, I think it's one of the most interesting things about our main event. How we got here. This wasn't a matter that Ryan Bader asked for this fight. This wasn't a matter that Scott Coker went to put this together. This was Fedor Emelianenko using whatever goodwill he had to ask for one last opportunity, and he wanted it to be against the champion. And he wanted it to be in a rematch. And there's an interesting statistic going around, perhaps you guys have heard. Fedor Emelianenko has never lost to the same man twice. Ryan Bader has never lost a rematch. So something has to give, right? And that storyline just always seems to work. But I would like to ask Fedor, in hindsight, with everything that you've been through, how important, not only is the championship, not only is the rematch, but how important is it to have a good performance in your final match?
Спасибо, Чел. Я бы, конечно, очень хотел победить в этом бою, как Бог даст.
Thank you, Chel, for the question. Of course, I want to compete at my best, and with the God help, this will not happen.
Я благодарен Скотту и Bellator, компании Bellator, что мне после моих, скажем, удачных выступлений
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Bellator, for letting me have this opportunity
мне предоставили возможность биться с чемпионом
to fight the champion
в последнем бою.
in my last fight.
И на этой приятной ноте завершить мою
And at this point, to finish my
независимо
card.
от результата.
No matter what the result is going to be.
Спасибо Райану, что принял вызов.
Thank you, Ryan, for taking this.
Все увидим в субботу.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you, Fedor. My final question would just go to our champion, Ryan Bader. Ryan, you've been one of the most dominant and most successful fighters of the last half a decade over in Bellator, but you were pulling your body, you're pulling your physiology between 205 pounds on up to 265 pounds. I realize you didn't get to the limit, but you get my point. And now that you have settled in at heavyweight and only at heavyweight, how do you feel about that, and was that the right decision?
Yeah, my old coach Aaron Simpson said, hey, why don't you try heavyweight at some point? And it was an unknown, and so came over to Bellator and did exactly what I wanted to come over here and do and have opportunities. So heavyweight Grand Prix presented itself. I said, hey, why not? What do I have to lose? And I went in there. I'm like, are these guys going to be that much bigger, hit that much harder? And so I went through that tournament and realized, I belong here. And towards the end of my 205-pound career, cutting too much weight, and my ego was involved. I'm like, I can do it. I've done it my whole life. It got to the point where it was more like a why. Yeah, I had the belt. When I lost that belt, okay, I'm gonna move on. So now, fight week, I'm having fun. I feel energized. I'm able to eat throughout, fight week and not cut 30 pounds. And I kind of saw the benefit of doing that. And I feel great. I feel at my natural weight. I feel fast. I feel strong, and I can compete with any heavyweight out there.
I followed Ryan's college career. He was a 97-pounder, moved up to heavyweight, and had similar and better results is one of the reasons I asked that question. Guys, can I open this up to you all? First question, please.
Sorry, John, if you guys have a question, raise your hand and we'll bring you a mic.
Yeah, I'd like to start with Ryan, please. Ryan, obviously this is a huge event here, but obviously as people talk about this card, it's Fedor's retirement fight, right? I don't hear a lot of talk about it's Ryan Bader's next title defense and look at what he's accomplished. I know you're respectful of him as the legend he is, but does any of that frustrate you that maybe people aren't talking about you enough ahead of this?
No, he deserves it. He's a legend of the sport, and respect that man, what he's done for the sport, and he's a good human being, Yeah, don't get it wrong. I know walking in there that, I'd be doing the same. If I'm watching, Fedor's last fight, I'm cheering for him. I like to do that. I like to see these legends go out on top. We've seen a couple of them retire this last month, and make no mistake, I know, people are going to be rooting for him, but on the flip side, I have a job to do, and my job is to go out there, spoil that party and go out there and do what I came here to do, retain that belt, win that fight, and, move on, and hope all the best. And there'll be respect there no matter what.
Obviously a rematch 4 years in the making, we only saw 35 seconds of them, right? So I'm just curious, how much can you take out of that first experience? Is it just a mental thing, or did anything tactically you take out of that first fight?
There's a few things, 35 seconds, there's one punch thrown, you can't take much. This is a whole new fight. And every fight I go out there, thinking, I'm fighting 25 minutes, my opponent's the best he's ever been, and that's the way to approach a fight, I'm not resting on what happened last fight. I can't bring, that fight into this fight or anything like that. I picked up little stuff, his quickness and everything like that, and with our game plan last fight of where's that line kind of deal. Whole new fight, 35 seconds is not much you can take away.
Thanks, Ryan. And for Fedor, please. We don't think of you as an outwardly emotional person most of the time, but is there special emotion behind this fight, knowing it's the last time?
Да, я буду очень рад.
Yeah, I'll be very happy to finish it.
And Fedor, we can just ask you how you approach this fight tactically, because it is a rematch, but we didn't see much the first time. So were there big changes needed in strategy, or did we just not see enough last time?
В этой подготовке было все совсем не так, как в прошлой. Вся подготовка прошла у нас, с моей командой.
This camp was completely different from the previous one. The whole camp was in Starry School with my team.
Но много было побочных, скажем, таких явлений, как то, например, оформление визы.
But there were some, problems on the way. One of them was a visa that I could not get on time.
Мне пришлось 2 раза летать на собеседование.
I had to go to 2 different countries, to 2 different American embassies to get a visa this time.
И паспорт с визой я получил уже в аэропорту перед вылетом сюда.
And passport and my visa I got at the airport right before I was checking in on my flight to the United States.
Были трудности, конечно.
Had some difficulties this time.
And just last, I want to ask one for Scott. Thank you very much, Fedor. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the history with the man sitting beside you, but it's a historic event for Bellator as well with the CBS debut. So I'm just curious, kind of what this event represents to you and what you feel like it means, in the history of the promotion.
Well, I tell you, this is a big event. It's monumental. It's something that just shows and reinforces all the hard work we've put in for the last 5-6 years. This is the best fight roster we've ever had, the deepest fight roster and the most talented. I'm really proud of our bantamweight tournament that we're ongoing right now. We just announced a lightweight tournament, which I believe is going to be an unbelievable tournament with AJ in there and Usman and Pitbull and there's a lot of really good talent in there. So if you look at this company from top to bottom, the roster is really healthy in the division. Now, these guys can compete against anybody in any league. I believe we have some of the best fighters in the planet, and you know, we went to Ryzen and we had a great outing there in December. But it's just one victory after another, and I think it starts with the roster. And it took 4 or 5 years to build that roster. Now that it's here, we're able to put on these great fights, and this is going to be another great fight on CBS and Paramount Plus on Saturday night.
Ollie?
Over here. For Fedor, obviously, congratulations on a great career, regardless of what happens on Saturday. But for you, is there a moment or a fight or just something that you're most proud of? Like when you look back on your career, what's going to mean the most to you?
Ну, я все свои поединки, конечно, помню. И удачные, быстрые поединки, они, конечно, радуют тем, что они скоротечные, досрочной победы, но один из самых таких вот запоминающихся для меня — это бой с Антонио Гуэрой за звание чемпиона.
Like I remember all my fights, and doesn't matter how fast they were, like some of them was fast, quick, some not. The most important and probably the first one that I remember still is the first fight with Antonio Nogueira for the belt at the Pride.
Thanks. And earlier today, Scott announced on the MMA Hour that I think 11 of your fellow legends are going to be in attendance and join you in the cage after your fight. I guess, what does that mean to you to have so many MMA pioneers and luminaries there to support you?
Спасибо, конечно, всем именитым бойцам, легендам спорта, что они придут поддержать меня. Вот. Я очень рад, очень трогательный момент, конечно.
Yeah, I'm really thankful that all these legends and all these guys who I know for years and ages are going to come and support me, and I'm really happy about that.
Я буду очень рад, конечно, повидаться, пообщаться с...
I'm going to be very happy to see them, talk to them, my friends.
С теми, с кем я выступал, или непосредственно в ринге, или параллельно где-то.
Those who I compete inside the cage or like outside or at the same time.
Thank you. And for Johnny Eblin, we just talked about CBS here. I think for you, competing on the same card with Fedor and holding that belt, can you talk about the opportunity this is for you to maybe build your brand and build your star power?
It's a wonderful opportunity. The fact that that I'm a part of this card on CBS, fighting on the same card as the legend of Fedor and Bader. So I mean, this is a big card. A lot of eyes are gonna be watching, and I'm excited to put on a performance and have fun.
And for Ryan, I know initially when we started to talk to you about this fight, I think it was in Phoenix last year, you kind of said, I'd already beaten him and stuff like that. So I guess what was the turning point for you? Was it the retirement fight? Was it just money? Was it, I guess, what do you have to gain here that you felt like you should sign up for?
At first it kind of felt like that way, and then started thinking about it. And then, being on CBS was a big factor, and then started to think through it a little bit. And, anytime you're in a Fedor fight, it's a huge fight, and proud to be a part of his legacy and him part of mine, and I came to his company for opportunity, like the heavyweight Grand Prix, like these kind of fights, these big fights, it's hard to turn down a Fedor fight. And so, I didn't necessarily know it was going to be his last one, right at the beginning, but one of those things where I got more excited about it, and then when it finally put pen to paper, I was all in, and can't wait for it to be on CBS. Been waiting for this for a long time, and back in there with the legend.
Thanks. And last one for Anatoly. What does it mean to you to be able to share this moment with your coach, your mentor here in his final fight?
Для меня это очень круто, очень здорово. Федя для меня очень родной, дорогой человек, и я очень рад, что буду присутствовать на его последнем крайнем поединке. Очень круто.
Yeah, I'm very happy that I have the opportunity to fight at the same card because he's pretty much family to me. So I'm really happy that they're going to have this opportunity.
First question is for Scott. So there are a lot of notable heavyweights that are floating out there, and with all due respect to Chael's backstory of how this fight was made, did you present names like a JDS or an Overeem or Barnett to Fedor as potential opponents for this fight?
We did. We went through, 4 or 5 different names, and he kept saying, I want to fight Ryan Bader, and that's, I want to fight for the title, and I want to, and go out and see if I can still compete at this level and test the best in the world. So he kept bringing Ryan Bader's name back up, and that's really what the catalyst was, and eventually we made the fight.
As someone who lives in the Los Angeles area, definitely appreciate that the event is local to me, but was there a reason why this fight was put in Los Angeles, with Fedor's backstory being international and having such a prominent international career? Why Los Angeles?
Yeah, we could have done this fight anywhere in the world, but we knew that we had an opportunity to be on CBS television and Paramount Plus, and we're located here. Bellator is located here in the Viacom offices on Sunset and Gower, and I just felt that this was the right fit. And the LA Forum, Fedor's fought there before. We've done very well, but to be in a major television market and a media market like Los Angeles just seemed to make a lot of sense.
So, next question is for Fedor. So you've definitely had a lot of potential opponents that fell out or negotiations broke through. Out of names like a Brock Lesnar or Josh Barnett, is there any particular fight that you really wish you could have if you could redo your career? That one opponent that got away, who would that be?
Да нет, у меня была замечательная карьера, спасибо, слава богу.
No, I had a great career, thanks God.
Так что, если какой-то бой не состоялся, то, значит, его не должно было быть.
Okay, if some fight didn't happen, it shouldn't be happening, so it didn't happen for a reason.
Understood. So, one last question I wanted to ask you, Fedor. Michael Jordan once said when he retired, he just wanted to eat junk food and get a pot belly. Do you have any plans like that when you wake up the day after the fight and you're no longer a professional mixed martial artist? Is there just something you're going to do that you wouldn't do otherwise?
Ну, конечно, это моя семья,
First of all, is my family,
это моя команда
my team,
и развитие в России, в Союзе ММС.
and I'm president of Union of MMA in Russia. It's a amateur league,
С развитием спорта.
and just sport.
Дальше будет. Я еще студент,
And plus, I'm a student.
надо закончить университет.
Have to finish the university.
Очередной.
Another one.
Dan?
Yeah, so first question is for Scott. You're going to be in an interesting position on Saturday night if Fedor wins the belt. You could potentially be the champion. How risky is that for you to book a fight like this, knowing that can be a possibility, and what do you do from there if that's the case?
I mean, I think we've talked about this internally, and basically, the decision was, was if Fedor wins the fight, then he would stay the champion until we had a contender fight, and then the contender fight would dictate who would fight, and then we would have another match at some point in the very near future, and that would be the new champion. But this is Fedor's last fight, and it's he's gonna go right up into the sunset, and we will crown a new champion at some point.
And for Ryan, Chael mentioned that Fedor's never lost to the same guy twice. He's actually never even had the chance to avenge a loss. He's never had a rematch with the guy he's lost with. So I'm curious, do you feel in some way that Fedor is hunting you down, and does that affect your preparation for this fight, knowing that this legend wants your belt?
I mean, no, every fight we go in, I fought for a title every single time I've been in Bellator pretty much, besides a couple of Grand Prix, and it's I walk into that cage the same every single time. That guy wants to go out there and beat you. It doesn't matter if I beat him and he comes back and wants more revenge. What is that? They're gonna go out there, come at you hard. We're fighting at the top of the top. We're fighting for belts, right? And so there's nothing more on the line. So every time I step out there, I feel that. So I just keep my head down and do my job. The storylines and this and that, those things don't affect me at all. We show up on February 4th, we throw down, and whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I can't take past belts. He can't take his career into that cage with them. It's just whoever is better on that night, and it is what it is.
And for Fedor Emelianenko, I'm curious, you know, you're 46 years old, going to be 47 this year. How have you been able to outlast your peers that you were fighting against 10, 15, 20 years ago and still in the shape to fight for a title?
Сам себе удивляюсь.
Yeah, surprise myself.
Конечно, слава Богу, да, я хорошо сохранился.
Thanks God, I preserve myself pretty well.
Вот. Ну и, конечно, спасибо моей команде, ребята поддерживали меня всегда.
And of course, thank you for my team because they support me all the time.
Ну а так я просто старался всегда сохранить те качества, которые в молодости развиваешь их, скажем, уже в преклонном спортивном возрасте их уже стараешься сохранить. Вот я старался их сохранить уже.
Yeah, I had a pretty good career and pretty good baggage of different skills type, and so I try to preserve those skills till my later age. So that's basically it.
MMA is a sport with a lot of new fans. Some people have only been watching this sport for 5 years maybe. So I'm curious, why is it important for people to know and understand your career, which happened, part of it, you know, for the last 20 years, a lot of people don't know. And what would you ultimately hope your legacy would be in your contribution to MMA?
Спасибо большое. Я бы хотел, чтобы меня помнили только как верующего человека в Бога. И спортсмена, который завоевал сердца своих фанатов именно в ринге, в кейдже. Не болтовней, не ругательствами, не какими-то пошлыми, низкими словами в отношении своего партнера, своего соперника, а именно той работой, которую я проделал в ринге.
I want to be remembered as, first of all, I want to be remembered as a Christian, as Orthodox Christian, and second of all, I want to be remembered, especially for my fans, as an athlete who gained his popularity, his fan base, based on their skills, based on the fighting skills, not based on the trash talk or all the nasty stuff that's going around right now. So that's how I want to be remembered.
First question is going to be for Johnny. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Fedor and company coming into the forum. Do you feel like you've got some backup going into, obviously, Sabah Homasi, your guy at American Top Team, both of you guys competing on the same card?
Yeah, this is really cool. Me and Sabah like to fight on the same card a lot. Fight week is always fun. We're just hanging out, having a blast, making jokes, and you know, it's always awesome to be on the same card as a teammate, especially on a main card like this, and his fight's going to be a banger right before mine, so I can't wait to see Sabah get a knockout and then watch me do my thing after him.
Then for Ryan Bader, I'm wondering, you know, Fedor is wearing literally the same shirt and hoodie the last time you guys had a pre-fight press conference. Does it feel like deja vu, or does it feel like a brand new fight up there right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of in the same place, right, around the same time of year. We were just talking about this the other day with my team. I'm like, man, it feels like it's been 4 years, right? It feels like it was a year and a half ago. Yeah, you get those kind of deja vu things, especially with all these fights we've had in our careers, you know, all the different hotels and all that kind of stuff. You know, but mentally, I'm approaching it the same way. Good for me. It was a happy experience and a good experience, and hope to replicate that. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, new fight, keep my head down. You know, I had a great camp. Go in there, do my thing, leave with the belt. That's the plan. You know, but I don't let the outside stuff really get in.
For Scott Coker, I know you just made the announcement recently, and then the cage is only so big, but have other legends reached out to you about trying to be part of the Fedor retirement since you made the announcement?
No, we have a lot of martial arts dignitaries coming, but the gentlemen that we're going to invite into the ring are mostly retired and have either fought Fedor before or been around in that same time frame, And you know, we will have a lot of MMA stars and different martial artists and different celebrities, but the people we invite in the cage, like I said, will be people that are special to Fedor.
And then my final question for Fedor. You have several teammates. Anatoly is doing well. Vadim, obviously. As the veteran with all the experience, what's it like to see your younger teammates enjoy so much success now?
Для меня это, конечно, большая радость, что ребята стали чемпионами, что то, ради чего я работал, все эти годы тренировался. Вот новое поколение достойных бойцов, чемпионов сменяет меня.
Of course, I'm very happy to see all that because it's like all this time, all this life, you know, like I did compete at highest level. Plus, right now I have new generation of fighters coming over and they're winning the belts. They have good career, so I have no legacy behind me that I'm gonna leave.
Я благодарен Богу, что я какую-то лепту внес в эту душу.
And like thanks to God that you know I was a part of it.
Josh?
Thank you all for making the time. Fedor, everybody asks you about legacy and to look back, but I'm wondering when you were a young fighter in 2000, you make your debut in rings, what did you have in your head for what your career would look like? Did you think about this?
Тогда было, я только перешел из самбо и дзюдо в профессиональные поединки.
Back then, I just switched over from like judo and sambo competition over to professional fights.
Вот, начал работать в зале.
It was just the beginning, like that I was going to the gym.
Я должен был изучить в какой-то степени, куда я пришел.
I had to learn like what I have to do here because it was new for me.
Я поставил кассету с последними соревнованиями.
I was watching like VHS
С последними турнирами.
from the last tournaments of MMA,
В разных версиях.
different versions.
И посмотрел, как бьются чемпионы, я понял, что могу с ними, через определенное время смогу с ними состязаться.
And like when I watched like the champions, you know, so I figured out like I thought like you know I'm gonna be able to compete with them at the highest level.
Что ничего такого особенного, я не увидел.
It wasn't something that you know I couldn't do.
Просто нужно работать.
You just have to work hard.
So did you imagine that more than 2 decades later, when people would talk about you the way they talk about you, or did that just happen organically over the course of your career?
Нет, в тот момент, конечно, я не думал об этом.
No, at that point I definitely didn't think about that.
Просто от боя к бою старался максимально хорошо подготовиться и победить.
And just my like point, like I just was trying to fight, you know, be prepared at best and just win the fight. Every single fight I was going to.
And I understand today, this is your last fight in Bellator and last fight in mixed martial arts. Would you consider another combat sport to compete in? Is that a possibility, or are you done competing entirely?
Ну, видя, как звездный ММА сейчас выступает в боксе,
Like right now, you know, I watch like as the MMA stars competing in boxing.
конечно, мысли о том, мог бы я биться так же или нет, были.
I did think about it, like if I can do it as they do or not. I had those kind of thoughts.
Вот, но я хочу закончить свою спортивную карьеру.
But I want to be done with it
Совсем.
completely.
Thank you.
Drake?
Question for Fedor back here. Recently, you know, Khabib Nurmagomedov, speaking of retirements, he retired fully from his MMA involvement. I'm just curious, after your career finishes up this weekend, are you planning to still be involved with MMA, or will you do something similar to like what Khabib's doing now, where he's just completely distancing himself?
Да, у меня, конечно, спасибо большое за вопрос. Конечно, у меня есть моя команда.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for your question. Of course, I'll be involved still because I have my team.
Эти ребята мне родные, как моя семья.
This is like, these guys, they're like family to me.
Поэтому, как бы ни складывалась жизнь, но я буду всегда рядом с ними.
No matter what's going to happen, I'll be next to them all the time.
Буду помогать им, чем смогу.
We'll try to do my best and help them any way I can.
Ну и вся моя жизнь была в спорте.
All my life I was in sport.
Поэтому без спорта я себя не представляю.
The sport is part of my life.
Параллельно там еще как-то, но я буду все равно передавать свой опыт, давать советы какие-то.
No matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to still share like my experience, all my knowledge.
То есть я без спорта, ну, даже если будет другая какая-то работа или другие увлечения, спорт уже у меня в крови.
No matter what I'm going to do, I may have different hobbies, whatever is going to be happening, no matter what, I'm going to be still with my team in sport. Because sport is in my blood.
And just what were your thoughts on Khabib announcing that, though, that he was going to go completely away from MMA? Do you understand his decision, or was that something surprising to you?
Ну, это решение Хабиба.
This is Khabib's decision.
Ничего такого противоестественного или противозаконного в этом нет.
I don't see anything illegal in
выбор.
it. That's his choice.
Вы знаете, возможно, да, нам, спортсменам, мы столько времени отрываем, скажем, от своей семьи вот, из-за спорта.
We spend so much time outside of our families because of sport, camps.
Что иногда, наверное, хочется бросить это все.
Sometimes you call it quits and that's it.
Особенно, когда дома маленькие дети ждут.
Especially when you have young kids and they're waiting for you.
Thank you, Fedor. Question for Scott. You know, Fedor is obviously considered by many as the greatest heavyweight of all time, but I'm curious for you, like, where do you rank him amongst like all divisions? Would you say he's the #1 across the border? Where do you kind of place him?
You know, that's a tough question. There's so many great fighters that have been in the history of the sport, but you know, when you talk about heavyweight, that's how I feel. The body of work has been, you know, just amazing, and what I think about, let's say, pound for pound, or you know, like in the legacy of what he's done. I think, you know, I just haven't seen anybody out there that's done more, and that's just how I feel. And you talk about a fighter that's still explosive, that's still fast, that's still dangerous, and you know, he's proved that in his last several fights to get to this point where he deserves a shot. So I think that, you know, is there somebody else that has done more in this sport? I'm not sure.
And I wanted to ask you, Scott, about you know, any cross-promotion plans for this year, aside from with Rising. You know, you've been getting called out, I guess, by the ACA president, wants to do some Bellator stuff. I mean, is there any ideas right now of working with anybody similar to Rising in that kind of capacity, or is it still too soon?
Yeah, you know, it's ever since that fight happened, we've been very popular. The phone's been ringing, and everybody wants to fight us now. But you know, we have a business to run too. We have a lot of fights that we have to get done. We have great tournaments ahead. We have great fighters to promote. And that's the thing with Rising really was something that was special, it was very unique. I'm not sure if we're gonna do this, you know, this year, we begin with Rising, make sure, but the door is open, and if it makes business sense, and it works for everybody, and including our network, and, you know, your partner, or the league that you're fighting, let's say, like Rising, and it works, part of the tricky thing is who gets the TV rights, and where does it go, and if they have a home, and you have a home, it becomes complicated, right? So we were able to work out with Rising. It's a case-by-case basis, but the door is open for anybody, you know, to have that conversation.
Thanks, Scott.
Go ahead.
This question is for Fedor, and if Scott Coker wants to chime in, he can as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Fedor, we all know that this is your retirement fight. But if you win the title, and if Francis Ngannou comes over to Bellator, would you consider fighting him to unite the UFC and Bellator titles?
Good job, young lady.
Знаете, ну, некорректно, наверное, говорить при действующем чемпионе такие задать, ну, не то что задавать, но отвечать на этот вопрос.
Probably it's completely incorrect to answer that question because of the Ryan Bader is over here and he's the champion at this moment.
Вот. Но так, нет, я уже, вот мой последний бой, мне интересен чемпион.
This is my last fight and all I think of just this last fight with the champion of Bellator.
Я бы хотел дать бой чемпиону.
I want to have this fight with the champion of Bellator. Ryan Bader.
И закончить.
And be done.
Any last questions? Steven?
Steven Grenadier, Carolina Sports. Ryan, kind of similar to that question that she just asked Fedor, is that somewhat of an elephant in the room for you? Is if you are to be successful on Saturday, you know, possibly an Ngannou fight could be in your future?
I haven't really even thought about that. You know, I got Fedor in front of me. It's one of those things where, you know, you can put a ton of names in front of me that are out there, you know. When I run across it, we'll run across it. But, you know, concentrate on him right now, and that's where my head's at.
Scott, for you, is that, I mean, I'm sure that's come to mind, possibly Ngannou coming to Bellator. Is that something, I don't know, you're working on?
You know, I'll tell you, our policy has been, we reach out and talk to every free agent that is available to talk and have a conversation and to bring the top free agents to Bellator. And we have reached out, there is dialogue, and we look forward to having a sit down with him at some point in the near future.
Marcos Villegas for Fight Up TV. Question is for Scott Coker. Scott, now that we're talking about potential free agents coming over to Bellator, has there been any communication with Nate Diaz to see if you guys could bring him over to the promotion?
Yes, there has been dialogue with everybody. I think that Nate was somebody that Mike's talking to his management, and it's just preliminary talks. It's just an ongoing conversation. But if there's anything to update, we'll let everybody know. But right now it's just dialogue.
What do you think it's going to take for you guys to go ahead and close something like that, not only for Nate, but also for Ngannou, who's also testing the free agency waters?
I mean, listen, there's every fighter has different needs, right? So we're going to sit down and have a conversation, and with Francis, I think it'll happen, sooner than later. With Nate, maybe it'll be later than sooner. And really, I think with Nate, it's going to be depending on when he's ready to come back. Sometimes he takes a long period off. Sometimes he comes back, quickly. So we'll be in dialogue with everybody because, again, top free agents, we definitely want them to come here and have a home here, and we're looking forward to those conversations.
Other questions for Ryan? Hey, Ryan, is there any mixed emotions coming into this fight, seeing that this is Fedor's last fight and just the reverence that he has amongst the MMA fans and what he means to the sport?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Me going out there and doing my job and winning, I'm the bad guy. Taking that away from him, and just like I was saying earlier with a couple legends that are retiring, Shogun and Glover and stuff like that. You want to see those guys go out on a win. So I'm in that position, and what am I going to do? Go in there and just fold up for him? I got to do my job. So, but yeah, I respect that guy a lot. What he's done in the sport, but also as a person, and I got a job to do. But at the end of the day,
I know both you and Fedor are focused, but piggying back off the question that the young lady over here asked. Even the mention of Francis Ngannou fight, does it kind of make you tingle a bit or salivate at the thought of that if you are in fact the winner on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, potentially. Do I really want to fight him? I don't know. But I think I have the skill set to go in there, and stay away from those big bombs and stuff like that. And look, there's fighters that are scary, and you say their name, and you're like, man, I don't want to fight that guy and stuff like that. But we're in this sport, and I have a belt here because I think I can beat anybody at any given night, and I stand by that. And so, you throw anybody in the cage, I'm going to go in there with the mindset that I'm going to go in there and beat them, and I've walked in there every single fight thinking that, and you know, a few in my career when I was younger that, you know, I had some doubts, and it didn't turn out so great, you know, and so there's a couple fights there where I said, you know what, you know, I'm gonna flip this little mindset that I have, and I can and I am the best in the world, and it's worked out great since then.
Next question is for Fedor. Hello, good to see you again. You know, this is your last press conference. Tomorrow will be like your last weigh-in ever, and Saturday night's the last time you step into the cage. How's the mood been like for you coming into this week, both emotionally and mentally?
Слава Богу, что это все в последний раз.
Thanks God that it's all happening for the last time.
Why? Like, are you just like fed up with it? Like, are you tired of all the hard training and you just want to start the next chapter? Like, where's that coming from?
Ну, не то, что перенасыщение, но да, наверное, уже время пришло.
Probably is. There's about time.
Does it make you feel sad at all?
Нет, я абсолютно не расстроен.
Not sad at all.
Может быть, Скотт еще позовет меня на какую-нибудь пресс-конференцию.
Maybe Scott is going to call me for like another press conference.
You know, piggybacking off that, Scott, and you could answer this too as well, Fedor. Exhibition fights. I read something, and just this is my mind going to, hey, Anderson Silva and Fedor, exhibition. It's not a real fight, but I think there would be a lot of interest in that.
I mean, I think I can answer that. I mean, one of the conversations with one of the fighters was Anderson, and he chose to just box, and he wanted to fight in a boxing match against Jake, and he said the wear and tear in his body to do MMA was too tough, so he declined the fight. So that fight, I don't think will happen at any level because we've already offered him that event.
What did Fedor say about that?
Да нет, наверное, у меня много другой работы.
I have many other things to do.
You're like, I'm on you. No, finally, you know, like you're a living legend, and some people like don't ever like get to that status. But like, do you ever sit back and think about like the things you've done in your career, and like how people see you and how revered he is in this community?
Ну что, я стараюсь не думать и не принимать уже, что я там легенда и прочее.
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about things like I'm a legend or anything like that.
Но свой опыт я стараюсь передать.
But my experience I'm trying to share with my team.
All right, we need to take our last question here, Greg.
Fedor, hello. You retired in 2012. You had many things to do then. You had family. What makes you so sure that you are ready this time, when maybe you weren't ready to completely retire 10 years ago?
Возраст.
My age is different.
Возраст, да.
Age.
Пора заканчивать.
Time to be done.
Конечно, долго меня ждет семья.
Yeah, my family was waiting for me way too long.
Моя мама меня просит уже.
My mom asked me to
Стала переживать.
She was always worried.
Вот. И, конечно, возраст.
My age.
Скажем, ну, те нагрузки, которые выполнял, я уже их не удержу.
The pressure that I used to be able to handle, I can't handle it anymore.
А готовиться к бойцам, ну, к молодым бойцам нужно полноценно, конечно.
But if you want to compete at the highest level with the younger people, like you have to be the younger fighters, you have to be ready 100%.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you all for coming, by the way. You know, we love to give out fighter awards, and we got the main event, the co-main event. We do these title fights. And fight of the nights, I got to give a little press awards because this was one of the most fun press conferences I've been to. The Michael Jordan Potbelly comment was excellent. I think Josh Groh stole it from you when he asked Fedor if he would ever box or grapple, and the young lady surprised us all by bringing in Francis Ngannou's free agency. Now, I got to tell you guys, it's fight week. We are going to be back here. We've got a press conference and a big announcement for the Grand Prix. We're going to do that on Friday. We got weigh-ins to get to, and even right now, we're going to clear these tables out. All the fighters, including Scott Coker and myself, will be available if somebody would like some questions in a scrum-type atmosphere. We are going to face them off, and I will remind you all that these two world title fights in the entire Bellator MMA event is going to be this Saturday, February 4th, 9 o'clock Eastern on CBS and Paramount+. Thank you all.
Everybody ready?
Alright, guys. Good luck. Right, come on up. Fedor. Here's the little team. Face the camera. All right, guys. Good luck. Thank you.
That was it, right? They don't have anybody else.
I just thank you all for watching. Try to get some interviews now, so we'll just have to plan it. Appreciate you guys. Going to be doing more MMA content this year, so. Bye, best friends.